Michael Lantz here. I'm going to answer the question, how do you get rid of sadness and depression? Maybe you're suffering from temporary sadness or depression, maybe long term. I'm going to walk through 5 proven steps to help you get rid of your sadness and depression. I understand what it's like to be sad and depressed. For so many years, I lived that way and didn't even know it. In my childhood, I was always seeking acceptance because my mom and dad didn't seem to accept me. My mom many times would call me a mistake, and dad always was criticizing me, and he didn't even go to my 2 state championship games, let alone the entire season. So I was unconscious to the pain that I carried. I was never conscious about it, never even thought about it until later in life I fell to addiction. And through counseling, through studying this, I overcame all of that. I mentioned that through Dr. George Pransky, my son suffered from depression for a lot of years. Had him into a lot of traditional psychology and nothing seemed to work, and we heard of this method that Dr. Pransky teaches. We sent him up there, and Dr. Pransky's daughter, Erica Bugby, was my son's counselor. This is 4 days of intense counseling. In the first day, within 2 hours, his lifelong depression and sadness was gone. I mention this because I believe, and it's what Dr. Pransky teaches, that you never lose your well-being. You just misplace it. Through these 5 methods, I'm going to walk you through how to overcome your sadness and depression. I will mention as a disclaimer, if you suffer from clinical sadness and depression that you suffer greatly from and maybe even have thoughts of suicide, this video is not intended to treat, diagnose, or to cure that. You need to get licensed professional help. But if maybe your symptoms of sadness or depression are temporary, maybe you have a child that way, these are the first 5 steps that will work for you. Will your sadness and depression leave immediately? It might, because as Dr. Pransky says, your well-being never goes away. You might have to work at this just like me. When I went into recovery for addiction, not even being conscious of all of these feelings that I have. After a couple of months, a lot of work, a lot of sessions, working through this, one day it was gone. My addiction was gone. My sadness and depression was gone. So it can happen that way. So let's get into the 5 steps. The first step. Your thoughts, which really are the cause of your depression and sadness, are a choice. You can choose your thoughts. You've heard of people saying, oh, I have to take responsibility for myself. When your thoughts are conscious, meaning you're conscious of creating them, you're not just allowing them to come into your mind without even realizing it. When you get conscious of your thoughts and start choosing what they are, your sadness and depression will go away. That's huge. You have to understand that. A lot of people say, oh no, the way I feel causes my thoughts, and that's not true. Your thoughts cause you the way you feel. Or when you get in touch with that and understand that you can choose to be happy, you can choose to be energetic, you can choose to be any way you want to be. Sadness and depression are no difference. No one wants to be sadness and depression. You might be saying, Mike, you mean you're telling me that my sadness and depression I'm causing? I'm saying that you can get out of that and choose happiness through your thoughts. So that's step 1. Thoughts are a choice. Step 2. I mentioned that your feelings are caused by your thoughts, and by the same token, one of the greatest gifts that we have is our feelings. Why? Because they're a barometer to the quality of our thoughts. What's a barometer really do? You may have heard that term, barometric pressure. I remember being a little boy in the 60s back at Grandma and Grandpa's house in Oklahoma, and they constantly would look at that barometer. And if the pressure was high, great, let's go fishing today. It's going to be sunny skies, no wind. They'd listen to the news. The news weatherman would say we have a high pressure. In other words, barometric pressure was high. So thus, through the barometer, you could tell if the weather was going to be good. By the opposite token, Grandma would look at that, oh my gosh, we got low pressure, it's going to be crappy today. There's going to be a lot of wind, clouds, could rain. My grandma always feared tornadoes in Oklahoma. So what do I mean by that? Anytime that you feel down, you're sad and depressed, you got anxiety, got some internal pain, if you get in touch and step back and realize, how am I feeling? I kept a feelings journal. It's a barometer of my thoughts. Same with you. If you're sad or depressed, step back. What am I thinking right now? You might be having thoughts in the past. I'm no good. So-and-so didn't accept me. I failed at that assignment. Everyone hates me. See, these are these thoughts. And when you step back and realize that this feeling of sadness and depression is caused because of these thoughts in your mind, that's one of the greatest gifts, is feelings. By the same token, on the opposite side of that, when you feel magnificent, you feel upbeat, happy, joyous, you can trust those thoughts. Never make a decision when your thoughts are down and poor. But when you're upbeat, hopeful, optimistic, you feel good, not pressure, you can trust those thoughts and then make your decision. That's step 2. Being aware of the quality of your thoughts through how you feel. Step number 3. It's to become aware of your unconscious thoughts and make them conscious. Our ego, and I'm not going to get into the psychology of ego too much, but it warrants a little discussion right here. And I always visualize it like my brain has got this shield on it. When the shield is gone, my ego is going to create thought for me. And that ego is awful. You can't trust the ego. The ego is going to create havoc in your life and then try to solve it for you. But it never does. That ego always wants to be relevant. And if you're not conscious of the fact that the ego is feeding you lies, and you're unconscious to that, you're going to feel sad and depressed. And going back to step 1 about thoughts are a choice. When you get in touch with those feelings, I don't feel good, I'm depressed, I'm sad, and then you start analyzing, you step back, maybe to take a journal of what you feel, what your thoughts are, and then you realize, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I was thinking that Mary was mad at me, that I was going to get fired from my job. I realized that I'm not going to get fired. And so now you start making your thoughts conscious. So you block off the ego from being able to get inside of your head, because you are the one creating your thoughts. And when you create your own thoughts, when you create your state of happiness, you create this little shield to where your thoughts can't get in. That's how I've always visualized it. And when I started to visualize that, because I understood about this step, it changed everything for me. There again, one day I woke up going, oh my gosh, I'm healed. It was amazing. Do I have sad and depressed days? Absolutely. Do I step back and think about, all right, what am I thinking about? Yes, I do. That's step 3. Step number 4. This one takes some work. Eckhart Tolle, in his great book, The Power of Now, gets into this in detail. A lot of people, they don't quite understand Eckhart Tolle, but I'm going to make it simple. When he says, get your thoughts in the now, here's what he's really saying. When you get in touch with your feelings of sadness, depression, and then you start analyzing these thoughts that you're having, almost always, if you've got pain and sadness, you're thinking about something in the past. You're not in the now. When you have anxiety, you're thinking about the future. What Eckhart Tolle and what all the psychologists get in the now. When you become aware of what your thoughts are and you get in touch with the unconscious ones, realizing that they're in the past or in the future, and then you just get in the now. What's happening right now? Do you ever lay in bed at night worry? Think about it. I have, and it's almost always I'm worried about the future. And I get anxiety. Oh my gosh, I gotta do this, gotta do that, so-and-so this could have happened. And I have to get in touch with my thoughts and make them in the now. So I have some little routines to do that, beyond the scope of really this. But one is meditation, or I get in touch with my breathing. So if I got anxiety and I feel it here, and I know what my thoughts are, then I start breathing through it. So I start getting my thoughts back in the now, where I'm only focused on that breath right now. And it's like when I got the anxiety, I let the air in my head, I'm thinking I'm blowing or I'm breathing right through the anxiety. So I'm in the now. If I'm outside, I'm looking at the tree of the bird singing now. I'm watching my dog swim in the pool right now. I'm not thinking about the future. I'm not thinking about the past. And when my thoughts are in the now, no pain and suffering, no sadness or depression, joy, peace. That step 4, when you master it, it's huge. You'll never have a sad or depressed length of time in your life. You're still going to get it because you're a human being. That's just part of life, but it won't last. Step number 5. In a nutshell, step 5 is understand that you are the greatest creation on earth. For so long, I used to not even understand about my creation. I asked lots of questions for years, but I never really quite understood that. And then I got into touch about just how awesome I really am. And what I mean by that, this body, as an example with feelings, that's a gift to you so that you can get in touch with your happiness and peace and thrive in there. You're still going to have challenges, yes. You're still going to pain and suffer, yes. But you can be at peace and joy amidst that. That's what feelings will allow you to do. This body, the heartbeat as an example, it will beat 3 billion times in a normal lifespan. Every heartbeat keeps you and me alive. Who gave us that heartbeat? Who gave us this body? This body that's got like its permanent doctor who heals cuts, bruises, broken bones. I don't have to think about it, it just happens. This body was given to us like a gift because you are the greatest creation on earth. And when I learned how great a creation I was, I didn't need to pretend and try to fit in. I didn't need to get my acceptance out of other people. I lived for that for years in my childhood. As an addict, I was always trying to please people. I was always trying to be a perfectionist. Why? To seek acceptance. And when I learned that I didn't need to do that because I am the greatest creation. Brene Brown talks about it being having self-acceptance, where she talks about being authentic. It's easy to state, harder to get into because it takes courage, as to where you let go of who you think you're supposed to be and accept who you really are. And you are the greatest creation on earth. Your spirit chose your body, because it's through this body that you get self-mastery. And when you recognize that you are the greatest creature on earth, there's nothing to be sad about, nothing to be depressed about, because your thoughts won't be in the past. You can't change the past. You can't change the future. You can plan for it. Everything happens in the now. Those are the 5 steps. Will this work for an adult? Yes. Will it work for a child? Yes. Working with it through a child, like in my particular case in childhood, my mom and dad didn't unconditionally accept me. I was only good in my dad's eyes if I was like this perfect kid. He's smart, got A's in school. I was like always competing with my brother. And I got out of that. I mean, I love my mom and dad, and I was the same way to my children. So with a child, to get them out of their suffering and depression, they may need counseling, obviously, but just fully accept them. Accept that they're sad and depressed. Let them know that you accept them just like that. Let them know that they're okay like that everyone goes through these problems. You can help them through the 5 steps. You may have to internalize it in the language that your child understands, or you understand, but it can work. I help people look and feel their best and be strong on the inside and the outside, so that they can create a life you love. Down below, if you click, you can be taken to my blog post where I've got all this written out for you. It goes in a little bit more written detail about this. And while you're on my blog post, I really believe that the body, the mind, and the spirit, those 3, like a Venn diagram where you have the 3 circles and right in the middle they touch. And if you improve any one of the 3, you improve the other 2. And so if you're suffering from depression and sadness, and that's a spiritual thing really, I have seen in my nutrition program people following just the program, and they start improving physically, and they, oh my gosh, and I've seen people come out of these sad, depressed states and really be able to tackle life because they got in touch with their body. So while you're on my blog, check out that link to review that program. All of you take care. You are the greatest creation.